of cash is near. We've covered this before here at PFT, and in a nutshell, it's basically a problem reaction solution analysis. They nationalized the monetary system, which is a huge problem. We reacted by demanding more statism, which perpetuated the problem and now has created the proposed solution, which is a cashless society. But how are they going to justify banning cash? I mean, perhaps the next crash in the business cycle is going to be blamed on hoarding stockpiles of cash. We know the big banks and corporations are sitting on cash reserves, and the social justice, environmentalist, eugenics, leftist crowd are likely going to welcome a confiscation of this wealth. In fact, the move to a cashless society is really just one large step towards actual communism. Now, the central banks should not be setting interest rates at ridiculously low levels. It discourages savings and it encourages debt creation. And as we can see in Canada, or the US, or Japan, or Europe, this method of economic growth is really just asset inflation, which leads to recessions and ultimately depression. So their solution is lower interest rates until they're at zero. And then it's negative interest rates. We basically already have that here in Canada. I mean, just ask yourself if your bank or your credit union charges you more each month than you receive in interest. Now, historically, when governments mess around with the economy like this, people respond by hoarding their money. Now, if that money is paper, governments then respond by creating massive inflation and thereby forcing people to spend their money before it becomes completely worthless. Now, it doesn't necessarily quite work like that in our system today, so central banks are now responding by literally eliminating cash. The government wants all cash in the banks, so every transaction can be monitored, regulated, and completely controlled. Imagine the entire world recorded in one giant online ledger, controlled and monitored by a hierarchy of technocrats and self-serving bankers. Eliminating cash may happen after one of the next financial crises. I mean, bailouts have proven to be unpopular, so now there's even talks of bail-ins. We've covered this here before on PFT with Cyprus and the Canadian connection. You see, a bail-in means that when a bank fails, it will reach into its depositors' accounts before accepting any money from taxpayers. And to keep fiat money in the banking system where the state can get to it, some economists have advocating banning cash. And some countries have already done so. Italy made cash transactions over 1,000 illegal. Switzerland is proposing banning cash payments in excess of 100,000. Russia banned cash transactions over 10,000. Spain banned cash transactions over 2,500. And Mexico made cash payments of more than 200,000 pesos illegal. Uruguay banned cash transactions over 5,000, and France made cash transactions over 1,000 illegal, down from the previous limit of 3,000. Denmark has also made moves towards a cashless society. They're not part of the euro, and they have their own currency called the krone. And the Danish government is proposing to scrap cash as a cost-saving measure. Even a member of German Council's economic experts is calling for a cashless society. He said it would be a good subject for the agenda of the G7 summit. And as for Canada, we're already well onto that road. An RBS report from 2011 found that the world average for paying by plastic amounted to 40% of transactions. But the rate in Canada was 68%, making us the world leader in people who are voluntarily going cashless. We also don't have a penny anymore, so the precedent has been set to get rid of nickels and quarters, And I mean, how far is this cost-saving measure argument going to reach? I mean, perhaps we better just get rid of all coins and all paper money to stop the drug dealers and the terrorists. The Royal Canadian Mint has actually looked into digital currencies, and although they later abandoned the project when it became clear that the state is not going to be able to duplicate Bitcoin. In fact, the whole point of the Bitcoin scheme is that it is independent from state involvement. Canada's Interact system is the world leader in digital fiat transaction systems. You can pay by debit card at a cash register or pay user fees at a bank machine. In the US, these kinds of transaction systems would be owned by the banks, and they usually charge fees on customers or impose cost on retailers. But the not-for-profit Canadian Interact costs so little that it overtook cash as the Canadian standard. A PayPal survey found that 71% of Canadians are ready to go cashless. And an RBC Shoppers Drug Mart poll found that 76% of Canadian women typically carry less than $50 on them, compared to 66% of men. And as Wayne Bossert, former executive vice president of RBC, says, we are increasingly becoming a cashless society. Canadians are recognizing that debit is a convenient way to pay, and now they can earn reward points on debit purchases that translate into savings. Reward points on debit cards, as in like air miles and PC or shopper points, and all those other fake numbers that translate into cheaper groceries or movie theater tickets or whatever. You see, these fake reward points are not savings at all. They're just tokens in a phony economy where goods and services are provided by the corporate state apparatus. As the Canadian Bankers Association works on a unified, standardized system for smartphone payments in Canada, something that is likely going to evolve into a Interact for smartphones, analysts are all agreeing that within just a few years, our smartphones are going to be completely merged with our wallets. And I mean, greater advancements in technology are generally welcomed with open arms. Being able to pay for goods and services with your phone is a temptation that I don't think too many people are going to decline. You know, it's that classic problem reaction solution method that we've come to expect from the American elites. Their solution to the stock market crash in the early 2000s was to lower interest rates and thereby creating another problem. And the masses reacted to the bust in 2008 and 9, and the solution provided was more government intervention and even lower interest rates. And now the Fed is stuck at zero and quantitative easing just to keep everything afloat. But floating on what? I mean, the dollar's value is determined by a cartel of bankers and people's willingness to keep the casino going. The solution the elites provide in Canada and the US is devaluing the currency, keeping interest rates low, and in effect wiping out the pensions and the retirement savings of the elderly, to name at least one group that's being affected. Everyone sees the effect of a nationalized monetary system when we go to the grocery store. Now, what will bring about this North American Union, according to the elites, is the breakdown of this system. Only then will there be any justification for locking our cash inside the electronic banking system. Goods and services will increasingly become rationed, not according to some free market pricing system, but the central planning grid of the authorities. And when money has become completely electronic, that is just nothing but numbers on your phone, well, the international banking system will have complete control of money. And they will be able to just debit and credit individual accounts at will. The entire market order will be supplanted, and it will be de facto communism. but hopefully not on my watch. Thanks for watching, folks. Check out the links in the description for all the sources to this video, and click the like button, and also share this information with your friends and family if you found this info useful. And also check out our Investigate Bilderberg t-shirt campaign that we have going on right now. It's a great way to show your support for truly independent media. And stay tuned, guys. We're going to have a lot more videos coming very soon right here at pressfortruth.ca.